the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined by man of the wilderness, Johnny Paulus.
Yeah, buddy.
Johnny, welcome back from the woods.
Thank you, sir.
It seems as though you and your entire family has survived. Any harrowing experiences out there in the wilderness?
No, honestly, anybody on the East Coast looking for a good place to vacation, I'm going to give a shout out to a state park real quick. Gifford Pinchot, Pinchot, Gifford Pinchot State Park. You can rent, off-season at least, you can rent a cabin. We got a cabin for $80 a night.
Wow.
Now, when we booked it, we were expecting like single room, couple bunk beds, minimal electricity, maybe like one plug on the wall. We get there, there is a fridge, a stove, a microwave, a big dining room table, a sofa, a chair, and 2 separate bedrooms. For $80. We had a porch, we had a table outside, we had a fire pit. Like, dude, I could have stayed there for a fucking month. It was awesome. Absolutely loved it. So much fun.
You were
Lots
glamping.
of s'mores. We were glamping. It was glamping.
Not as hard as some of these places I've seen. Dread, our good friend out there in the streaming space, was sending some pictures of the cabin he's at this week, and I'm like, okay, that's glamping.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a literal log cabin. I mean it's not, nothing is really fancy about it, but no, it was nice. I mean we were 50 feet from the water. You could just walk off the porch and go sit by the water at 2 a.m. and listen to the frogs and chill out, and had brought my guitar with me and brought the Switch with me and had some fun.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. I haven't been out camping and stuff in a long time, and the only way I've ever done that is tent camping. But I think I would enjoy the glamping life. So
It's nice to just disconnect, you know?
while being completely connected, I would definitely want my laptop with me and my Switch and my phone, and just the thing that keeps coming up that I talk about a lot here at home that I don't talk about with too many people because it's kind of tough for some folks to relate to this. But Johnny and viewers on YouTube, you are looking at my work office right now.
Yeah.
This is where my 9-to-5 job occurs. And sometimes I'm just get the itch just to get out from, even though this room is awesome and it has all my favorite stuff in it. There's sometimes it's like, I just want to get out of here. I spend so much time down here doing my job. So yeah, I think even just going to a place like that for, a few days or a week or whatever would be nice, just to get away from the building. I was trying to describe it to Amy. I said, imagine if when you got done teaching for the day, right, instead of leaving your classroom, you went back to the chair at your desk in your class and you sat back down in it.
Yeah.
And that's where you needed to entertain yourself for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like it's
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, it's kind of how it is. It's just, the change of scenery is nice sometimes. So.
No, and I think at this point now, after the pandemic and after the lockdown stuff, I mean, most of us have had to do it, work from home to some degree. So I think a lot of us can relate to that actually now, because we did the wake up in the morning, clock in on the computer, work all day, clock out, and then you're still just home. You're still just in your living room.
Sure. The only difference for me is that there is no office to go back to.
Right. It doesn't end. It's always that.
Never that place will never appear.
Right.
The other flip sides, the other good sides is I'll never have a boss come walk. What are you doing, Mike? That will never happen.
Yeah, you don't have a 45-minute commute either.
No, I have a 14-stair commute.
Must be nice.
So this past week, as we've been chronicling on the show, I'm finally done with this huge musical endeavor that I had partaken in. And it was really cool being part of, that kind of thing again. I haven't been a part of something like that since high school, so like it had a lot of those feelings of nostalgia. Being in a band for a musical is kind of cool because as long as you know your shit, you're just watching everyone else around you have a constant meltdown, and it's really entertaining.
Yeah, I bet.
And then you're just the superheroes that go completely unnoticed until, somebody really stops and thinks about it of, oh man, you guys are just, you're not a tape deck we're hitting play on. You're like people.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are really good. Because I've always said that your role as a bass player is to be completely unnoticed in a production like that. If someone ever notices you for any reason, you have fucked up. You don't ever want anyone to even acknowledge your existence when you're playing bass in a musical. Because if somebody needs to, it means you're doing something wrong. So yeah, I went through the entire show without ever being noticed. It was kind of cool. 4 sold out nights of the 6. So it was a big success.
Yeah. That's great, man. Congrats.
I'm sure it will lead to many other playing opportunities for me. I was actually talking to one person there about potentially looking at doing the Footloose production in the Annapolis Garden Theater this year.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. I just need to figure out how big of a time commitment that is. We have that one friend who'd travel in to run sound there, and he'd be here like the entire summer. So I don't want that. But like if it's like a month or a month and a half of shows on the weekends, I could do that if it paid. Yeah. But no, it's nice just to get done with work and then not have to go, all right, time to go to this thing that's also basically a job and play music for 4 hours. But now that it's over, it's like, well, damn, all that music I learned, I'm just probably straight up not going to play anymore because it's the music from Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical.
Yeah, you'd need a real specific music request at a gig to ever be able to pull that knowledge again.
Well, like if you sat down, right, at your music playing space and you're like, all right, I just got done work. It's time to rock out.
Yeah.
Let's play the crucifixion scene from Jesus Christ. That's not going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is episode 111 of the Power Gamer Podcast. It is time to begin this week's show by discussing the thing that you're all here to hear about. It's the games we've been playing this week. Johnny, you probably, from being the Grizzly Adams out in the woods, probably don't have as much to go over. So let's jump to you first.
No, I don't.
See what you got this week.
I'm still working on Hogwarts Legacy. No, nothing really major to report there. My animal breeding is going well. I'm having a hard time finding a female unicorn. I really want to start making more unicorns so I can sell them, and that's just not going well.
There's a joke right there, dude.
I'm sure there is.
A female unicorn?
That's what I'm looking for. Looking for it. Well, I mean, in order to breed them, I've got 2 males that they can't make more, unfortunately.
I was speaking more figuratively. But...
No, I got you.
Do your thing.
But I mean, story-wise, the game's still great. The combat's a lot of fun. I now have a couple of the forbidden curses, and I'm glad that you're not punished in any way for using them, and it does not affect the story for using them. I was afraid that if I busted them out, that I would get like the quote-unquote bad ending. So as soon as I learned a couple of them, I did some Googling, and they're like, no, it has no effect on the storyline. You can cast them willy-nilly, and it doesn't really matter. So now I have all these awesome badass spells that I can use, and I can still be a good guy. So that's nice. Also still working on Chained Echoes. I am still in that pre-post game hell where I'm kind of leading up to the end, but now I'm like clearing the maps and like I'm Google Central right now. Every time I open Chained Echoes, the first place I'm going is the guide, trying to find all the treasure chests in this area, trying to find all the hidden treasures in that area. You know, not really that rewarding of gameplay going on right now, but I know it's all going to pay off once I finish the game because I'm very much sucked into that game and fully plan on beating it. The big one for this week is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the new Mario and Rabbids game. Now, I played the last one, I would say maybe 15 hours, maybe 20 hours. I got a good, decent chunk into it, but I lost interest and moved on to other things. And I was really expecting this game to be more of the same, and it is, but it isn't. One of my favorite changes that they've made is, generally speaking, in a turn-based XCOM style strategy game, you're given a very rigid grid of like, you can walk here or you can walk there, and you sort of like, you almost like choose which block you want to walk to. This game doesn't function like that. You're given a circle and you can walk freely within it and try to decide where you want to land, essentially. So what's different there is that I can go over to here and I can try to fire at that target and go, nah, he's out of range here. Okay, well, let me walk over here. Let me get cover there. Oh, okay, I got an angle here on this guy. But then you have team jump, where any player that's in one spot, if another player gets right next to them, you can press A and they will launch the other up into the air, and you sort of parachute down, so you can do that to get further toward the enemy. But my favorite thing about the game is the way that you can combo shit. Every single turn, everyone on your team gets one movement, one attack, and one power-up, special effect, ability, whatever you want to call it, right? So one of my favorite combos that I found is Luigi has essentially the Overwatch ability, where as soon as he sees an enemy move within his line of sight, he is going to fire. And Luigi is a sniper. He's got a bow and arrow. He does a shit pile of damage, all right? So the combo that I've found is I have Luigi get to a spot, attack who he can attack, and then put him on, it's called Steely Stare, which is his Overwatch. So I put that on. Then I'll have one of my other players go over and slide attack one of these other enemies. Now, when you do that, not only does the slide attack do damage, but it also launches the enemy up in the air, with Luigi then fucking picks them off. So you get this awesome, really cool 1-2 combo. But like right from the jump of the game, I've got, I think, 7 playable people, and I have my choice of 3, and they're all very different. Like, Mario's sort of your well-rounded, good mobility, good attack, good special ability. Luigi's sort of the sniper. My favorite is actually Rabbid Peach. So she looks like a rabbit, but she's Peach. And she's the combat medic, so she's dope as hell. But no, I am fucking in love with this game. I can see why this got the Strategy Game of the Year award at the Video Game Awards. I'm only like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours into it, and I can already say that it is like very, 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 very well done. Another one of the things that I really like about it is how smooth the fight-to-fight gameplay is. And this is one of the biggest problems with a lot of strategy games, most recently Midnight Suns, is that slog between battles, right? The actual gameplay of the battle is what you want to be doing. It's what's fun. It's what you want to come back to. And a lot of those strategy games, you get so caught into like, all right, I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and then I got to do this over here. And like, this is very much like okay, there's a building over there. Let's have our team walk over there. You pick up a couple coins on the way. Maybe you find a hidden chest, and then boom, you're in a fight. And as soon as you get out of that fight, you walk another 50 feet, boom, you're in another fight. And it's really, really, really well done. I'm gonna play this all the way through. I can tell you that right now. It's fucking awesome. I'm completely in love with it.
XCOM, but Mario characters.
XCOM, but Mario characters. And then other than that, I've been playing still a lot of Marvel Snap. This season has not been kind to me. I didn't even make it to 90. So the season restarts in about an hour, and they're adding Hitmonkey. and I like playing Swarm decks, and Hitmonkey is perfect for Swarm decks. His on reveal is +2 power for every card you play this turn. So turn 6, you put him down, and then you drop all your 1s and 0s. He gets real big final turn, which is awesome.
I've been getting all sorts of weird cards that I have no idea what they are because I haven't really been keeping up with the game.
Like what? What weird ones did you get?
What was this one? I was like, what the fuck is this? It was like Shadow Broker or something.
Oh, Shadow King.
Shadow King.
Shadow King currently doesn't really have a meta. I think he's a really strong card. He what he does is on reveal is he returns everybody back to their base power. So against a Shuri deck, where they put down their 26 Red Skull, you play Shadow King and he's just a 13 Red Skull. That's what Shadow King does.
Yeah, I'm like, because I took an entire season off, I got dinged twice. So like I was starting from level 10, so I'm just kicking the shit out of everyone I play.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
yeah,
hilarious.
That's got to be fun.
It's
just
really
sit down and win 20 games in a row.
Oh, it's at least 20 in a row right now. I've just been kicking the shit out of everyone with the Patriot deck, and it's amazing. Right. Those are the games Johnny has been playing this week. I've got a more in-depth list to dig through. Let's start with chewing the grass. That's right, lawn mowing simulator. I don't really have as much to say about the game other than I really like this game. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the systems that are in play. I really like everything about it. However, this has come up a few times on the show that sometimes I play games and they make me horrendously motion sick. And like the action of driving the lawnmower on a screen and spinning, and to cut, it makes me like from 0 to throwing up my brains out in like 5 minutes.
Oof.
So I can't play this game anymore. So unfortunately, even though I'll give it a big recommend, it's really fun. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. Really like the game. Wish I could play it. I can't play this game because it just makes me horrendously sick.
Were you playing it on PC or on Xbox?
Yeah, 1440p on my curved monitor.
Damn.
Yeah, because usually it's the other way around. Like if I play it on the big TV from the couch and then switch to PC, then I'm good. But it's the constant spinning and there's no cure for this one.
Yeah, no, that was why I brought it up because I remember before you could play Dying Light. Yeah. Yeah,
Dying Light. It was a combo. It was mainly the frame rate.
Right.
I think was making me ill with that one. Which they addressed, of course, right after I beat it. They released the 60 frames patch for PlayStation. Like, you fuckers. But no, I played that on Steam and was fine and really liked it. And then I played Dying Light 2 on my PS5 and never had an issue because it was running, properly at 60 frames per second. So, Lawn Mowing Simulator is on Game Pass if you don't get horrendously motion sick with some games. And this is so weird because like I can sit in VR and do fucking barrel rolls in an X-Wing and be fine.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
But some games just, I don't know what it is. It maybe if I go back in and play with the depth of field, that could fix it. I don't know. Because I like playing in first person so you can like really line up the rows, and I think maybe the depth of field is too close and it's disorienting.
Yeah, no, I can't stand when I'm playing a first person game and I don't have a depth of field slider. I need it like at least 100 or 105 or I'm pissed.
Yeah. But I honestly think it's just the motion of spinning and up and down that was getting me on that. So,
well, that's a bummer.
Lawn Mowing Simulator, you have my salute, but barf. Gears of War, the march through the Gears of War series has continued in a big way this past week. We were pretty much done with Judgment when we recorded last week's episode. We finished it after we recorded that episode. So let's talk about Gears of War Judgment real quick, because this game fucking never gets talked about. Ever.
Agreed.
Gears of War Judgment is a prequel to the entire Gears series. where you play as Lieutenant Damon Baird, and Coltrane is in your unit. It plays similarly, but different in some big ways from the rest of the games in the series. In that Gears of War Judgment kind of feels like each level is like this small bite-sized thing that you get, kind of like a Devil May Cry like rating for how you did on that level, which is kind of cool. It has like this arcade element to it. And every time you come into a level, you'll see the big red skull Gears symbol. And if you go up and push it, it'll suggest a challenge for that stage that you can accept or decline. For example, all of the enemies on the level have one-shot sniper rifles. Or
God.
you only have pistols. Or more horrible enemy types spawn. So it's all these different like challenge modifiers. And they're hilarious to basically always activate. And it supremely ramps up the stars that you get. So one of the big things in this is, trying to 3-star each level. And there's actually some gameplay locked behind 3-starring levels, including a whole separate campaign level called Aftermath. More on that in a second. But Judgment itself, it's fun, it's short, it's sweet. It has so many locusts for you to shoot because it really incorporates the horde mode gameplay a lot into the campaign, as well as just having traditional campaign levels. And it looks like it came out yesterday on the Series X. Seriously. They
I believe
buffed the snot out of this game. It looks incredible. It looks just as good as Gears 4. And it's an old 360 game. So definitely check out Judgment if you haven't. It's part of Game Pass. You can also pick up disc copies of it for like $6 on eBay. Like, it's a great time. A lot of people skip that game. If you're on Xbox, you can co-op it with your friend. Just remember, you have to sign in on the Xbox 360 screen once that loads and you start the game, and then to invite your friend or add your friend in the 360 menu, which that's what you have to do if you want to play co-op on these old 360 games. You push the start and select button at the same time, and it brings up the old 360 menu. Add your friend there, and then you can co-op till your brains fall out on these old 360 games. So definitely check out Gears of War Judgment. Very good. That was my first time actually playing through and beating it. Which brings me to Gears of War 4. Gears of War 4 is a really interesting game that, like, again, I feel like less people probably played Gears of War 4 than 1, 2, 3, or maybe even Judgment. And that's because it was locked on the stinky Xbox One for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, that system sucked. A lot. And a lot of people didn't buy it because it was bad.
Yep.
But now it's on Game Pass, and you have no excuses not to play it if you want to, because it's right there. It can be had fairly cheap, I guess. We didn't talk about this game last week because I jumped into it right after beating Judgment. Gears of War 4 is really good. It's really good. And I was surprised that they could keep it going with the big studio swap and everything that happened with Epic leaving. Epic sold out of Gears to Microsoft and went off and did Fortnite, and the rest is history. Gears of War 4 is really stinking good. I would say that this is strange because, like, when you get into the fourth game of the series, you'd think that there's a diminishing return on needing to have played the original games. You really need to have played the first 3 games to get enjoyment out of Gears of War 4. You don't have to. I guess if I was a complete nub and just sat down, I'd be like, oh, it's the story of Francis Drake from Uncharted as a cog and some girl with a edgy hairdo. But if you've played the original 3 games, it's like, holy shit, there's a lot to these characters. Especially anyone that's played Gears of War 3, and you know what's up with Dominic, the baddest ass gear ever. Your character's name is James Dominic Phoenix, which is pretty cool. There's more to Kate also that would be like mega spoilers for anyone that hasn't played the game, but like there's some tie-ins back there. The old Delta Squad is running around, and if you didn't have any emotional connection to them from the original trilogy, you'd probably be like, well, who the fuck are these guys? So yeah. I feel like you do need to have played 1, 2, and 3 to really get the emotional feng shui of Gears 4. But then just in terms of gameplay wise, it's so freshened up because instead of just shooting locusts, which is all you do in Gears 1, 2, and 3, you have them in the Lambent, who are basically still locusts. They just explode when you shoot them. In 4, though, there's the added twist of having to fight through cog robots. So you have all these varying enemy types and just a lot of new content. The campaign, in line with the original 3, does not take forever to beat. You can beat it in a couple playthroughs. It's like 12, 13 hours, something like that. Really enjoyed Gears of War 4, and you know what that means. I'm going to be starting on Gears 5 tonight, so I'll finally be all caught up with this game series. Finally.
Now, is Gears of War 4, is that the one where you end up at Phoenix's house?
Yes. Well, it's not actually Marcus Phoenix's house, but it's a house that Marcus Phoenix is in. I don't want to discuss whose house it is because that's kind of spoilery.
Fair enough, and I'll keep it spoiler-free, but I was just going to say, when you were talking about this game, and I was thinking about my time with it, because I never beat this one, but I do remember that level so vividly. In fact, I think it's like one of the most memorable levels for Gears of War for me in general, from the whole series. I don't know what it is about that level and that experience and all the shit that went down there, but that level was awesome.
It's bad to the bone, and it's not even the best level in the game at all. Offline, there's one I want to describe to you. But it was unexpected, and it was the most fun I had ever playing a Gears game. And it was completely out of left field, just what happened.
Awesome.
You really need to check this game out if you haven't.
Well, and that's one of the coolest things about this new subscription model that we're living in, that you're listening to the podcasters talk about Gears of War 4 and you're going, shit, I never played any of them. Like, dude, if you have Game Pass, just like you said, you could knock them out in a week.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Guaranteed to have fun. Like, you're going to have an absolute blast.
Well, and the best way to play it, which, looking at the achievement saturation rate, I'm really surprised how few people have beaten these games co-op. Like, the whole fucking point is co-op with Gears of War. Like, it's the best built co-op experience fucking ever. Play with a friend. If you don't have a friend,
just split screen on the couch. Invite a buddy over with a 6-pack and knock it out.
If you don't have a friend, just go on Reddit and find one. There's somebody that wants to get those co-op achievements. That's like, I don't have any friends, and like you could be that person. So
I'll be your friend, buddy.
There you go. I will not, because I already have one to play the game with, so I don't feel like playing it again just yet. MLB The Show 2023 is here. It is out. It is loose. It is on the Game Pass. I have not checked out the new mode that we were all excited for. No, what did I do? I got in the road to the show mode and did what I do every year with this game, which is put the difficulty on noob stick and slap every fucking ball that's thrown at me out of the park while I'm in AA. And it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm batting like .650 and I have 25 home runs in the first month of the season.
Like, you are the best hitter in the history of all of baseball right from your first season.
And they
like,
still haven't called me up from Bowie.
Yeah. If the O's had somebody in the minor league that knocked out 25 home runs in the first quarter of the season, you better believe they'd be at Camden
Well, here's
Yards.
what's really wild, right? Every time the pitcher throws the ball, it's a meatball dead center of the plate. It's like I'm kidding. I did start off that way just to remember the buttons, but then I put it on the dynamic, which is more fun. You know, when the game starts being real baseball to some extent, when you're trying to bat, watching for pitches is really the fun of these games. And yeah, so at least for Road to the Show mode, feels just like last year. It's exactly the fucking same. Does the game run any better? Probably not. It probably runs just the same as it did last year. It really doesn't look any different at all. I've put a considerable amount of time into it, though. Probably 7-8 hours, something like that. Like, been on it. But I do need to check out the NLB mode that is in it still. So I will definitely be doing that at some point. But right now I'm having fun with the Road to the Show thing. So MLB The Show 23 is thankfully on Game Pass, because I would never pay money for an annualized sports game at this phase of my life. I think the last time I actually bought the show was 2014. Bought it when they came out with the Road to the Show mode. So yeah, I'm having fun with it, and Johnny, I'm sure you'll fire it up and create your dude in the Orioles system to slap a bunch of home runs with some. I wonder if they'll have your name with pronunciation.
Oh, I just do Pujols.
Yeah. But
it's the closest I can get to my last name is Pujols.
But for the longest time in those games, Dawson wasn't a thing. I'd always have to be Davis, because for whatever reason they wouldn't put in Dawson. But now, like, I just type in Mike Dawson. It's like, Mike Dawson. You know, what I'm thinking is it's inexcusable that you could type anything and it not pronounce it, when you can go on TikTok and have AI voice lady.
It's true.
You know, AI's come a long way. Does it really take that much to put pronunciation into a game? I don't know.
I mean, if it's not in there, we're not far off.
Right. But I would just
that text.
I would just go for it. Just slap the name in, see what happens.
See what it says.
And you know what? If they don't give it to you, just like choose some wild nickname, like Slapdick McGillicuddy.
If it doesn't have Paulus, I'm pretty sure it's not going to have Slapdick McGillicuddy.
Coming up to the plate now, it's Slapdick McGillicuddy.
But my last two MLB The Show games I played, the closest I could get was Pujols. So next up to bat, Johnny Pujols. And I'm like, okay, it's close enough.
Phonetically, we're almost there.
It's almost there.
Yeah. I always thought it was fairly inexcusable that Dawson wasn't a thing. But
yeah, you'd think, I mean, Dawson's not that uncommon of a last name.
Well, it's still a problem in the F1 games, so I'm always the professor.
What, the professor?
Yes. That was the
wow.
Because they had like audible nicknames you could choose. I saw the professor. I'm like, well, fuck yeah! If I can't be Dawson, I'm gonna be the professor. So every time,
that's so fucking ludicrous.
It's because every time they refer to me, like even in like serious interview spots, they're like, oh, it's the professor. It's like, here comes the professor, and it's my fucking stupid looking avatar walking up the paddock. Like, some mutant version of me that doesn't at all look realistic. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. So MLB The Show 23 is out. If you like baseball, just put it on easy and dick around with it for an hour. I don't know. You might have a good time. In more serious news, this past week was a big week for Nintendo.
Yep.
Nintendo had a little episode of Direct, or whatever they call it, where they gave us 10 minutes of Tears of the Kingdom gameplay, where we saw the actual game running. A lot of new abilities, lot to digest, lot to break down. But Johnny, it sounds like you watched the absolute shit out of this video. Let's get your thoughts on it first here.
Well, I have 2 small kids, so
they're not small anymore.
I watched it. I guess they're not small anymore.
No, you got to stop saying that. They're
10
you got
and
big
12.
boys.
I got big boys. Anyway,
Oof.
I watched it at work, and then I came home and was like, "Did you guys watch it?" And they're like, "Watch what?" And I'm like, "The Tears of the Kingdom gameplay video. We were talking about it yesterday." And they were like, "Oh my god, we forgot." So then we watched it like twice then, and then we watched it a couple. So I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. The new abilities. There's first I'll get to the ones we kind of already saw aren't really all that exciting. There's like the time reverse ability that you use to sort of, when you see a rock fall out of the sky, you can then get on top of that rock and put it in rewind, and it will take you up to those sky islands, which we were kind of wondering, how are we going to get up to these big sky islands? So it's cool that they showed us that. Then the other one, I don't remember the name for it, but it's you're in an area that has covering over it, and you see a symbol on the ceiling. You can sort of swim upward to get to the example they showed is like you're in a cave. There's a symbol on the ceiling.
That is Ascend, I think it was called.
Ascend. There you go. And you then basically like swim through the mountain. It's like a portal, and you end up on the top of it. So I think they put that in there because one of the sort of time-consuming, not so fun aspects of Breath of the Wild is when you're looking at a mountain and you go, I gotta climb that fucking thing. This is gonna take me like 10 minutes. And you gotta like make sure you have your stamina food and you're just climbing. So I like that there's at least some kind of traversal ability to sort of cut down on some of that. But the exciting stuff is the fuse ability and how you can combine items. So the first example they give is Link picks up a stick and goes to fight an enemy, and just like Breath of the Wild, 3 hits in, that stick is broken. Then they give the next example. He takes the stick, he walks up to a boulder, and he fuses the rock to the end of the stick. So now he has like a giant mace that's a tree branch and a rock. 2 very easy common items to find. You've now fashioned a weapon. He uses that to kill 2 enemies, no problem. Weapon doesn't break. Okay, cool. Next he takes like a staff and attaches a pitchfork to the end of it. So you get all this extra range, like the longest range we've ever seen in a Zelda game. Crazy, crazy range on it. And like all of that's cool. Okay, cool. My favorite thing with that is that the amount of times that you've broken all of your weapons and you have nothing in that game is troubling. It happens a lot. But with this fuse thing, I think you're going to be able to sort of pick shit up, attach it to other things, potentially make them last longer. But again, not all that sexy. The sexy shit happened when they started attaching stuff to arrows and attaching stuff to shields, and then you start wondering, how deep does this rabbit hole go? So first example they give, he takes the white choo-choo jelly, sticks it on the end of an arrow, shoots an enemy, and it freezes the enemy. Next example, trying to shoot a bird out of the sky, he puts an Otterrock eyeball on the end of the arrow. Now the arrow is like heat-seeking missile. It tracks the target and hits it. How many things can you attack? What happens when you put meat on the end of an arrow? What happens when you attach a bomb to your shield? What happens when you attach... I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of these things, and I can't wait to find the answer for these things. And the amount of shit that we are going to be fusing together and message boards and YouTube videos and shit, people are going to go, did you know that you can attach a fan to your whatever and take flight with just a stick. I mean, shit like that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But then the other example they used is where you can actually attach items not on your person. So not just attaching things to arrows, shields, and weapons, but attaching game items in the world together. So the example they give, you want to get across a lake. It's a long stretch of water. Guy takes 3 big-ass logs, attaches them all together, puts it in the water. Okay, cool, it's buoyant, but it's not going to move on its own. Then he finds these fans, and he goes and affixes those on there. As soon as I saw him do that, the light bulb went off, and I thought about the last trailer we saw, where Link is driving a fucking car around Hyrule, and it occurred to me, somebody made that car. That's not some unlock that you get. That's not, I beat this boss or I did this achievement, so now I have the car. No, you're going to be able to make things that get you places in the game, kind of like what we were doing with this game several years after it came out, right? How long did it take people to figure out that if you put 2 of the big mine carts, one on top of the other, and then did your magnetism ability on the bottom one, that you could like fly around the map? People were figuring these things out years after the game was out. Now they're just making it a part of the game, which is awesome. It's now a part of the actual gameplay loop. You're going to have to like fashion vehicles and flying vehicles and all. Dude, it's super exciting. I'm absolutely fucking pumped, and I cannot wait to play this game. What were your thoughts of what you saw?
I thought this game looks like an expansion, and I think that's being nice. I was super unimpressed with how dated this game looks already. Now I played Breath of the Wild on a Wii U, okay, and this doesn't look any better. It looks exactly the same. And it's 2023, and I don't even know that I consider this a AAA game at this point, because think about it. If I sat down and said, hey, I'm going to make a AAA Blaster Master game, what would that look like? But then if I rolled it out and it looked like the 1988 Blaster Master game, you'd be like, wait, what the fuck? It's so old. I feel like 2 problems, right? Problem number 1, Nintendo really needed to come out with new hardware and didn't. And historically,
no argument there.
And historically, when a Zelda game comes out, it's usually on the cusp of new hardware being released, right? Number 2, where is the fucking step forward? Look back to the Wii. From Twilight Princess to Skyward Sword, right? Those were both on the Wii. And if you look at the step forward between the very first game that came out for the Wii, just like Breath of the Wild was the very first game that came out for the Switch, and you push forward to the end of the life cycle where we had Skyward Sword, I would assume we're at the end of the Switch's life cycle. It's a massive jump. They didn't do fucking anything. It's all the same assets. It's even the same map. They just hung platforms in the sky. Whoop-de-fucking-do. And you're going to charge us $70 for this, and you added a few abilities? It's an expansion pass. It's an expansion to a game that came out 8 years ago, right? So I am always excited for more Zelda stuff, because Zelda is my all-time favorite. Look on the wall behind me. All-time favorite. What the fuck are they doing here? Like, I get it. Like, you wanted to put out another game in the Breath of the Wild universe. That's fine. But this, to me, feels like Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons to, the better game, which was Link's Awakening back on the Game Boy era. This feels like we're going through that again. Versus actually taking a step forward and doing anything cool with the series. So I'm kind of just miffed by this, because the other point, too, with Zelda and how the story is told in these games is that there's always a big time jump. Because how much sense does it make that you've just banished Ganon and then Ganon's back? or up.
Yep.
Everything we did didn't matter. Like this has never happened in a Zelda game. So those questions in and of themselves are something separate that's been concerning me. But yeah, when they rolled out the footage of this, it's like, okay, I expect it to take place in the same universe as Breath of the Wild. I didn't expect it to be Breath of the Wild, which it literally is. They didn't change anything. It looks like ass. It's 2023. So I have a big problem with all that. And I have a big problem with all that combined with the fact of we're going to charge $70 for this. We're going to release limited edition consoles for this. We're going to release controllers. We're going to do our fucking Nintendo bullshit and intentionally short this stuff to make the market go fucking nuts. And you're just going to have to deal with it because we're Nintendo and this is what we do. So I have a lot with Tears of the Kingdom that I'm already not super pleased with. The new abilities look cool. Recall, which is the one for reversing the trajectory of something. Fuse, which is for putting the weapons together. Ultra Hand, which is building the vehicles. And Ascend. And I think there's going to be like a lot of hidden rooms that you can only get to with Ascend. The 10-minute gameplay, though, left me with a lot of questions, more so than it did with answers. Like, what are dungeons going to look like? It's not going to be shrines again. We already did shrines. So what are dungeons going to look like? We're not going to have the 4 world machines. You know, what are we doing? What am I getting excited about for this game? Because you've given me the same world, which you just showed me again. You've given me basically the same enemies. I mean, there's a couple that are a little different, but they're basically the same. You've given me the same weapons, except I can duct tape them together now. What am I excited for here with Tears of the Kingdom is really my main thing. Like I get that some people just get excited of, oh, there's new X. Oh, there's a new burger out at Wendy's. I got to go fucking eat this thing. I'm excited just because there's something new. And I think those are the people who are excited for this, are just people who are excited that there's something new in this universe. But I think if we're being critical of it and being objective of it, it's like, what the fuck is this? It looks like an expansion. And by 2023 standards, it's a pretty light expansion. But we're going to release limited edition consoles, controllers, and charge $70 for it, which has never been done by Nintendo before. And it's a bunch of recycled stuff from the last decade. So what is this? I think this is the laziest product I've ever seen from Nintendo. What do you think about my thoughts, Johnny? We'll throw it back to you.
I think it looks dated? Yes. Do I think Nintendo needs new hardware? I've been saying it for 2 fucking years. Yes. Am I excited about a new story? Yes. Do I want to see the changes that they made to the map? Yes. I think we're not, I don't want to say I think you're not giving them enough credit here. I know right now, from what you're seeing, what you're describing could potentially be true. With it's the same map.
Well, that's not.
It's just Ganon all over again.
The map thing's not up for debate. It literally is the same map.
But it's going to be drastically changed.
It's going to have stuff floating above it.
I don't think that's the only change.
It is.
Dude.
Like they showed the map.
That.
It's the same map. It's just we got stuff up in the air.
But I'm saying what's going on the ground level is going to be different. It's not. I know what you're saying, but I think it's going to be like in World of Warcraft when they split the world and all of a sudden the continents were like the map was still the map. I mean, there was still the same zones and shit, but in every zone there was different stuff. Stuff was different. Stuff was changed. I think it's going to be that.
But that was an expansion.
I understand. I see your point. I do see your point. But sticking with tradition, I am always the optimistic one, and you are more often than not the pessimistic one. And I do fully agree that the game looks dated as fuck, and that they desperately need new hardware, and they really should have announced a Super Switch. at this point to coincide with the release of this game, and then that Super Switch would give you Tears of the Kingdom in 4K at 60
Well, let me clarify. My point isn't just that it looks dated, right? Because my point is that it looks dated because it's all recycled assets from 2017.
Right.
It's not, this isn't even the best looking game on Switch, and it's Zelda.
Yeah, that's a problem. I agree with that.
Like, you want to tell me Metroid Prime Remastered didn't look better than this? I don't think so. I don't think you want to make that argument. And that's a $40 fucking game.
Yep.
So
no,
this is the premier franchise, not just for Nintendo, but for the entire gaming industry. It is inarguably the most important IP that exists in the history and on the planet that has anything to do with the video. There's nothing more important than Zelda. Nothing.
Call of Duty.
No. Call of Duty is not fucking anywhere close. There's a bunch of people that buy it every year because they don't know how to enjoy anything else. But it has so much less bearing and so much less importance than Zelda does.
Okay.
Give me any one Zelda game and get rid of the rest. And then give me any one Call of Duty game and get rid of the rest. Who's going to get their dick kicked in every time? Because Call of Duty is annualized garbage. Zelda games are supposed to be timeless classics. And this looks like an expansion that's getting labeled as a timeless classic. And it's like, guys, what are we doing here? This is a Zelda game. Okay? Let's stop getting lazy with fucking Zelda. That didn't work out for you the last time it happened. It's not going to work out for you this time. Are people still going to buy the shit out of it? Yeah. Why? Because the optimists, and just the user base of Nintendo, I'm going to buy it even though I'm being critical of it just because it's Zelda. It's that important. You know, I'll skip Call of Duty games. Fuck them.
Yep.
Will I skip a Zelda game? No.
Nope.
No chance. So yeah, no, it's really kind of perturbing that they're basically going, well, people consider Breath of the Wild the best game ever made. Let's just there hasn't been a sequel like this since Majora's Mask. And Majora's Mask didn't have the same walls of challenges that Tears of the Kingdom could easily have overcome. You know, there wasn't a huge leap in graphical fidelity between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But they made a completely different game in a completely different world with one of the most groundbreaking game mechanics of all time. You know, it had nothing. It had some of the same graphic, but it had nothing to do with the first game. It was a completely different game. So yeah, no, I'm concerned about Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think it's really got a chance. Part of what makes a new Zelda experience great every time it comes out is that it's a new experience. And it's not going to be the greatest game of all time twice, 6 years, 7 years apart from when it originally came out, which it just looks like that game again. And is the story going to be as good as Breath of the Wild? I don't know. Probably not. How do you top that? And it wasn't even one of the best Zelda stories. So like, how do you top it? How are you going to expand on that? How are you going to make that better? I don't know. So I just have a lot that I'm concerned about with the game. I get what you're saying. Like, it's really exciting. There's new story potential. There's new whatever. But like, I hope you understand where I'm coming from too. Of like, there's so many people guzzling the fucking Kool-Aid on this, and it's like, but it's easy for me to find like the other voices that have historically shown a heavy investment in Zelda that are saying a lot of the same things that I am. because I was critical of Breath of the Wild. Like I think it's a really cool game. I think it's a really great game. We've talked about this on the show before. Do I think it's the best Zelda game? No. That's fine, but like it's when we look at the series of Zelda as a whole, it's more of a Link's Adventure than it is any of the others. It's just different. And that's fine. That's not to say it's a bad game, but like what makes a great Zelda game? So I usually come back to Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time or Link's Awakening. Like those stories that you just are just incredible. And the gameplay and the attention to detail, the level design, versus having shrines that are just slightly different and hundreds of them, or the 4 world bosses that are basically the same thing. When you went back to the games in the 90s, it was like each level was this intricately designed world and puzzle that you had to solve, and they were amazing, and people sat around and talked about them, and it was something else that Breath didn't have. But what Breath made up for was the open world and like that original, what you've always described as that aha moment where you first come out in Breath of the Wild and you look and you see just how far the world goes. And then you have that paradigm shift after you leave the plateau of I can go anywhere and I can do anything. That's what made that game special. And this game can't have that. Breath of the Wild already had that. That's what made it special. And it was also special because we really hadn't seen a game like that from Nintendo. Like the other games we'd seen that didn't really quite do it were Skyrim, Oblivion, a lot of the Elder Scrolls games where the worlds just felt very flat and dead, even though they were big and expansive. Or the Witcher games where, the world was big, but it was still kind of instanced off into separate slices. Breath of the Wild was something special, and it really pushed the Wii U technology to the limit and barely made the Switch break a sweat. Yeah. Well, if it barely made the Switch break a sweat because it came out having been developed for their previous generation of hardware, then why does this game look like fucking ass?
It's a good question.
So I'm kind of annoyed with the 10 minute of gameplay. I think the new features are great. I want more Zelda. I want more story. I think Link's looks fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm really perturbed about these things that I'm hammering on. And I'm not as excited as I should be for a Zelda release. Because there's a lot of red flags with this one. That's kind of where I'm at with everything. I don't know if that helps clarify how I'm looking. I'm not just shitting on this because it's Zelda. No, I want it to be the best thing ever.
I know that. I know Zelda's your shit. I just I guess maybe I'm able to be a little bit more forgiving because of how much I enjoy Breath of the Wild. You tell me it's Breath of the Wild again, I'm going, cool, take my money.
Yeah, it needs to be Breath of the Wild again in 2023, not Breath of the Wild again in 2017. They owe that to charging $70 for this thing that's recycling a ton of assets. That's not it, Nintendo. So, right. New abilities, new gameplay. Still waiting to learn more about the story. I don't know if we're going to before.
Yeah, we don't know anything about. I don't even think Ganon's the big bad.
Well, they did kind of reveal him in some of those gameplay trailers from a year or so ago, or like when they're in the crypt and it's Ganon and Zelda and all that. So who knows? He's always the big bad, though. If he's other than the one time it was Aghanim, but then it was really turned out to be Ganon anyway. So because the whole lore of Zelda is the 3 pieces of the Triforce of Courage, and it's the conflict that the 3 pieces of the Triforce: courage, wisdom, and power, and the conflict that happens between them. Link is courage, Zelda is wisdom, Ganon is power, and so it's that conflict that drives the plot of these games. I digress. New controller, new system. Did you take any shots at those? Any interest in the new exclusive Nintendo gear, or?
I mean, the controller looks cool, but I don't need another pro controller, and I'm not the guy that goes, "Ooh, collector controller, I gotta have it." I don't, if I'm in the mode of if I need a controller, I look to find what's the coolest controller I can get right now, and so like if I needed a Switch Pro controller right now, yes, I would be buying the collector one, but I don't need another one. So
I still haven't opened up my Skyward Sword Joy-Cons yet.
Those are cool.
They're still sealed.
Those are cool.
When I go to play that game though, I'm breaking them out because I don't do the whole sealed collecting thing.
Fuck yeah.
Am I still excited for the game? Sorry. Well, let me just wrap this up on a positive note. Yes, I'm going. And to further clarify, even though I don't pre-order games, I'm pre-ordering this. I'm buying it the first day it comes out. I'm going to sit and play it. And even if everything that I've suspected about it is correct and not great, the game's still going to be great. Like the floor for this, the absolute worst I think this game could be is like an 8.5.
I agree. That's what Zelda is. We've come to expect that. So I think it's perfectly healthy as a Zelda fan and as a gaming fan to want more.
Well, see, it's the fucking Yankees of video games. You expect 10s every time.
Right. Correct.
And it hurts when they so obviously take a step back.
Yep.
Because they did that with Skyward. And Skyward still got 10s.
Skyward still got 10s.
So, anyway, I digress. One final note before we wrap up this week's episode with one up. E3. Rest in peace, E3. You're never coming back. Yeah, I was waiting to talk about this because it was just every day or a couple of days, it's like, well, so-and-so is not attending E3. So-and-so is not attending E3. And then, like, when Ubisoft said they're not going to E3, I'm like, ooh, we're getting near the bottom of the barrel here. Ubisoft's not going to take advantage of a day to be the guy on the podium meme, the guy in third place. It's like spraying the champagne and kissing the girls and going. That's Ubisoft all the time.
Yeah.
And if they don't want basically all the press at an E3 conference, it's bad. So, I think if E3 had gone on, it would have been like Focus Entertainment and fucking THQ Nordic.
Devolver's got their beef.
Trying to figure out who else to poach with nobody being there.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is like the comic book conventions have gone the same way, right? I mean, San Diego Comic-Con used to be when they would announce everything, and now Marvel just has their own, or Disney rather, has their own Disney Day.
But what happened to
DC has their online
What
event.
happened to E3 is Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley happened.
Yep.
And there's still big gaming conventions. They're just not E3. They're not in this country. They have the big game show over in Germany. They have Tokyo Game Show. But then the big one here in the U.S. is the Game Awards. That's when everybody blows their load here. And COVID taught all of these game makers and publishers and devs and Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo that you can reach so many more people for fucking free. And you know what? Honestly, I like it better this way. I like
Me too.
a week in advance, just out of the blue. It's like, oh yeah, Nintendo's doing a direct on Thursday. It's like, oh cool. Let me just sit my ass on my couch and watch that. Sick. And it's only 30 minutes. I don't have to watch any advertisements at all. E3 was just fucking one ad after another. They're just making money hand over fist. Just, E3 was kind of like the last bastion of that G4 slimy era of gaming to exist. And those of us who are nostalgic should also be able to admit that E3 was never, ever going to go back to being what it was in the 2000s. Never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because the reason why it was so essential and so big and so everything was because the internet sucked. Dreamcast was the first system to have a fucking Ethernet jack on it. You know?
Yep.
PS2, you had to buy an attachment to do that with SOCOM. The Xbox came with an Ethernet jack. I see Thanos. He's jumping around back there.
Yeah.
It was...
He almost turned my computer off about 5 minutes ago. He literally had his paws on top of the computer. I was
kitty.
like, bro, back it up. Now, he's glad that I'm home and he wants to get petted. And he's, I petted him plenty, but he's not done.
It wasn't until the 360 era that we could even download games on our system. So, like, short memories, folks. Technology is not that old. So, yeah, E3 got the nail put in his coffin by COVID, and they just took him 3 years to figure it out, I guess. I don't know. But they're never coming back. We're going to have the Game Awards. That's going to be the big thing. Jeff Keighley's been knocking it out of the park. I love that I just have the one night. We get everything then, and then we get the directs and stuff in between. I think it's a way better way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, Nintendo has their directs, and Sony has their state of play, and Xbox has their showcases, and
God, imagine if we would have had to wait till E3 to see 10 minutes of Zelda looking like pixel art. That brings us to our final segment of this week's show. It's time for One Up. Johnny, what's your One Up this week?
My One Up is this weekend. While we were up there in Pennsylvania, I took my family to go see the Dungeons & Dragons movie. And it's a perfectly acceptable popcorn flick. Is it the 90 whatever score it has on Rotten Tomatoes? No, I didn't think it was quite that good, but I enjoyed it. It was really fun. I'm glad Chris Pine got a win because of the Chris's out there. He's one of my favorites. Like they can start casting Chris Pratt less and start casting Chris Pine more. I'm fine with that. I like Chris Pine quite a bit, and I thought he was really good in it. I've always loved Michelle Rodriguez. She's awesome. And Hugh Grant had a lot of fun in this role, and it's just a fun movie. If you're looking for a movie to go, have a couple laughs and enjoy a fun adventure, it's cool to see a new franchise do well, and this movie's doing very well. It exceeded all box office expectations, so they're definitely going to make more and more and more. So I'm here for it.
My One Up this week is a little website that many of you musicians will know. It's called Reverb. So, bought my first ever thing off Reverb this past week. Quick story. When I was 15, I had this really fucking weird bass. It was called a D. Armand Pilot. D. Armand was a company that rose out of the ashes of the Fender acquisitions. And they basically made like Guild clones. Guild in the 80s made this weird fucking bass called a Pilot. And so when this D. Armand line launched, they released a remake of the Pilot called a D. Armand Pilot. And so I had, when I was 15 years old, a black D. Armand Pilot Plus. Okay. I carried it around in a Bill's Music gig bag, and I had the this little plastic control plate on it that explained what the knobs did. It was an active bass. And I didn't know how to remove the knob, so I could never take the label off. Well, long story short, I got casted to play in Rock and Roll Revival, which is a big local production of like 50s doo-wop tunes. I'm like, well, nobody knows what a D. Armand Pilot is. I look like a fucking idiot. Sold the bass and bought a jazz bass, and that's the one that's, you can just see the edge of here on the screen hanging behind me, that Fender jazz bass. Mm-hmm. So I was watching a documentary that Robert Trujillo, bass player of Metallica, made on Jaco Pastorius this past week. And after watching the thing, I started doing internet research, and I learned that Jaco Pastorius was one of the last instrument that he endorsed. He's always been associated with the fretless jazz bass. The last instrument that he endorsed was a Guild fucking Pilot. And I was like, God,
that's pretty
funny.
funny.
I was like, man, I wonder if these things still exist. So I go over to Reverb, right? And I just search D. Armand Pilot. And 2 show up. I'm like, wild. And I see a black one, PJ Active, just like the one I had. So I click on it to take a closer look. Sitting behind it is a Bills music gig bag. And it's up in Pennsylvania. I'm like, how the fuck did a D-Arm and Pilot and a Bills Music, that's a local music store here in Baltimore,
Yeah.
end up in Pennsylvania? I'm like, there's no way. And then I look, and guess what's still on the knobs? It's got the plate on it. I said, son of a bitch, that's my bass. Add to cart. Buy it now.
How much was it?
$300.
$250? $300. Yeah, nice.
So I have my bass back after 20 years. It showed up. I'm like, this is it. Absolutely.
Are there any like? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Are there any like recognizable dings? Like, oh, I remember knock this into whatever.
Buckle rash on the back. I used to wear this really obnoxious belt buckle that housed a Zippo lighter. So all of my instruments from that era have horrible buckle rash, including my Les Paul, which is behind me, is that way. It's all there. So the Bills gig bag, the fucking nameplate, the buckle rash.
What are the fucking odds of that, man? The day that you think about it, you search it, and there's your bass.
So shout out to Reverb.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's my one up for the week. That's a tough one to top.
No, I can't.
That's maybe the best one up I've ever dropped. So reverb.com, you musical scoundrels. Check it out. Any closing thoughts for this week's episode, or you ready to go snap it up?
I'm ready to snap it up. I got a new season and a new card to go play with. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll be back again next week with another great episode of the Power Gamer Podcast. Until that time, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paul.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch your own flip-flop.